They say a parent's love is unbreakable, but what happens when someone twists that love into a weapon? Imagine your own kid slipping away, fed lies about you, while you're powerless to stop it. This is a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and a father's fight to reclaim his family. My name is Mark, 42, an electrician from a small town in Wisconsin. My life's been a series of long days, wiring houses, fixing circuits, coming home with calloused hands and a tired back. But nothing ever felt heavy when I'd walk through the door and hear my kids, Mia and Lucas, shouting "Dad." Before tackling me with hugs, they were my world. Still are. Mia's 12 now, with her mom's curly hair and a laugh that could light up a room. Lucas is 9. All energy, always asking me to toss a football or explain how electricity works. Those moments kept me going, even after the divorce. 5 years ago, my marriage to Sarah fell apart. We were high school sweethearts, married at 22, and for a while, it was good. 2 kids, a modest house, barbecues with neighbors, but somewhere along the way, we drifted. She wanted more money, more excitement, more than I could give as a guy who's happy with a steady job and a quiet life. By the time Mia was 7 and Lucas was 4, we were signing papers. The divorce wasn't messy at first. We agreed on shared custody, 50 to 50. And I thought we'd make it work for the kids' sake. I moved into a small apartment a few miles away. Nothing fancy, peeling paint, creaky floors, but I made it home. I'd pick up Mia and Lucas every Wednesday and Friday for my days, and we'd do pizza nights, watch superhero movies, or build forts out of blankets. I wasn't perfect, but I showed up, always, paid child support on time, never missed a school event. I thought Sarah and I were on the same page, keep the kids first, no matter what. Then things started to shift. It was subtle at first, like a crack in a foundation you don't notice until the whole house tilts. Sarah would call last minute, saying the kids had a thing, and I couldn't pick them up. A birthday party, a sleepover, a vague. They're not feeling well. I'd show up at her place anyway, hoping to see them, but the door would stay shut. I'd text Mia and Lucas, but their replies got shorter, colder, busy, dad, or nothing at all. My gut churned every time I checked my phone and saw no response. One night, I was sitting in my truck outside Sarah's house after another canceled visit. I brought a new board game, thinking we'd play together, but she'd texted, "They're at a friend's." I stared at the empty driveway, the game box mocking me from the passenger seat. I felt like I was losing them, and I didn't know why. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that kids get busy, that Sarah was just stressed, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I started hearing things from mutual friends. Sarah was talking about me, saying I wasn't involved, that I was too focused on work to care about Mia and Lucas. It stung because it wasn't true. I'd canceled jobs to make their soccer games, saved every penny for their school supplies. But the worst came when Mia's teacher pulled me aside at a parent conference. She said Mia had been quiet lately, mentioning that I didn't want to see them much. My heart dropped. I tried to explain, but the teacher just gave me a pitying look, like I was some deadbeat dad. I called Sarah that night, my hand shaking. "What are you telling the kids?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She laughed, sharp and cold. "I'm not telling them anything, Mark. They're just growing up, picking sides." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just miscommunication. Sarah was playing a game, and my kids were the pawns. I didn't know how bad it would get, but I knew I was in for a fight when I wasn't sure I could win. Looking back, it's hard to pinpoint when things were truly good, but they were, once. Before all this mess with Sarah started tearing my world apart, life had a rhythm. I met Sarah in high school, junior year, in history class. She was all fire, red hair, quick-wit, always laughing. I was the quiet guy fixing things with my dad's toolbox. Somehow, we clicked. By 22, we were married, dreaming big but starting small. Our early years were messy but happy. I worked long days as an electrician, pulling 10-hour shifts to make ends meet. Sarah worked part-time at a daycare, then full-time after Mia was born. Mia came along when we were 30, and Lucas 3 years later. Those kids changed everything. I'd come home, arms aching from lugging wire, and Mia would crawl into my lap, asking for princess stories. Lucas, even as a toddler, would trail me with a plastic hammer, mimicking my every move. Sarah and I would collapse on the couch after bedtime, laughing about how we were in over our heads but wouldn't trade it for anything. Our house was small, a two-bedroom with a leaky roof we never quite fixed, but it was ours. Weekends were for pancakes, soccer games, and teaching Mia to ride her bike in the driveway. I wasn't a perfect husband. Work kept me out late sometimes. And I'd forget date nights when jobs ran long. Sarah started getting restless, talking about moving to a bigger city, wanting a life that sparkled more than our quiet routine. I thought it was just a phase. I figured we'd work through it, like we always did. The cracks showed up around Mia's 5th birthday. Sarah got a job at a real estate office, started dressing sharper, staying out later for client dinners. I didn't mind at first, she was happy, and I was busy keeping the lights on, literally, but we fought more. She'd snap about money, saying my job wasn't enough. I'd argue back, saying we had a good life, a stable one, by the time Lucas was 4. We were sleeping in separate rooms. One night, after a yelling match about bills, she looked at me and said, "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Mark." That was the beginning of the end. The divorce came fast. We sat down, agreed to split everything down the middle, house, savings, and most importantly, the kids. I didn't want to fight her in court. I just wanted Mia and Lucas to be okay. We settled on 50-50 custody. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town, a 15-minute drive from Sarah's new place. It wasn't much: stained carpets, a noisy radiator, but I hung Mia's drawings on the fridge and set up a bunk bed for them. I was determined to make it work. Those first couple of years post-divorce weren't perfect, but they were good. I'd pick up Mia and Lucas for my days, and we'd do the same things we always did: pizza nights, trips to the park, or building Lego castles in my tiny living room. Sarah seemed okay, too. She'd text about school schedules, drop-off times, and we'd swap the kids without much drama. I paid child support like clockwork, even when it meant skipping my own groceries to cover it. I thought we were co-parenting, keeping the kids first. Maybe I was naive, thinking it could stay that way. Sarah started dating some guy, a slick realtor type, and I noticed her tone shifting. She'd make little comments, like how the kids needed stability or how my apartment wasn't ideal. I brushed it off, told myself it was just her adjusting. I didn't see the storm coming. I didn't realize she was laying the groundwork to pull Mia and Lucas away from me, to make me the bad guy in their eyes. Back then, I still believed we were on the same team. The shift was so gradual I almost didn't notice it, like a shadow creeping across a room. At first, I chalked it up to the chaos of divorce, new routines, new pressures. But looking back, the signs were there, and I was too trusting to see them for what they were. Sarah started canceling my visitation days, always with an excuse that sounded reasonable. Mia's got a school project, she'd text, or Lucas isn't feeling great. Better not move him. I'd nod along, reschedule, and wait for my next chance to see them. But the cancellations piled up, once a month, then twice, then every other week. I'd drive to Sarah's place anyway, hoping to catch a glimpse of Mia and Lucas through the window or maybe talk her into a quick visit. Most times, the house was dark, or she'd text me to leave before I even knocked. My phone became a graveyard of one-sided conversations. I'd send Mia pictures of the new toolbox I got for work, asking if she wanted to paint it with me. Cool, she'd reply. If she replied at all, Lucas, who used to spam me with emojis, went silent for days. I told myself kids get busy, but it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. Then there were the comments from other people. My buddy Tom, who coached Lucas's soccer team, pulled me aside after practice one day. "Heard from Sarah you've been skipping visits," he said, scratching his neck. Awkward. I stared at him, dumbfounded. "Tom, I haven't missed a single day unless she cancels." He shrugged, like he didn't know who to believe. That was the first time I realized Sarah was talking about me behind my back, painting me as the dad who didn't show up. The kids started acting different, too. One night, I finally got them for a weekend, and we were eating pizza on my couch, watching Spider-Man. Mia was quiet, picking at her slice. I asked her about school, and she mumbled, "Why don't you ever come to my plays anymore?" I froze. "Mia, I've been to everyone. Your mom said you didn't want me there last time." She looked confused, then shrugged, like she didn't want to argue. Lucas piped up, "Mom says you're always working." I tried to laugh it off, but my throat tightened. I realized Sarah wasn't just canceling visits, she was feeding them a story about me. I confronted her the next day, dropped the kids off at her place, and asked, point blank, "Why are you telling them I don't care?" She leaned against the doorframe, smirking. "I'm just being honest. Mark, you're always busy with work. Kids notice." I wanted to scream that I'd canceled jobs for them, that I'd driven across town just to be turned away, but she shut the door before I could say more. That smirk haunted me. It wasn't just her words, it was the way she said them, like she knew she had the upper hand. I started keeping a notebook, jotting down every canceled visit, every text, every time the kids seemed off. I didn't know why I was doing it at first, just a way to make sense of the chaos. But the pattern was clear. Sarah wasn't just being flaky. She was controlling when and how I saw Mia and Lucas. She'd plan outings on my days, tell them I chose not to come. Once, Lucas let slip that she'd said I didn't pay child support, that I was letting them down. I was furious. I'd been scraping by, eating ramen some weeks to make sure those checks cleared. The worst was a call from Mia's teacher. She said Mia had written an essay about heroes, and instead of me, she wrote about Sarah's new boyfriend, Greg. "He's always there," Mia had written. I felt like I'd been punched. Greg, the realtor with his shiny SUV and fake smile, was stepping into my place, and Sarah was letting it happen, encouraging it. I sat in my truck that night, staring at my notebook, realizing this wasn't just a rough patch. Sarah was trying to erase me from my kids' lives, and she was using them to do it. It got worse before I even knew what worse could mean. Sarah's games turned sharper, more deliberate, and I was losing ground fast. By the time Mia was 11 and Lucas was 8, my time with them had dwindled to almost nothing. Sarah wasn't just canceling visits now, she was flat out refusing them. "The kids don't want to come," she'd say, her voice cold through the phone. "They're upset with you. Mark, maybe give them space." Space? They were my kids. I'd call Mia's cell, but it'd go to voicemail. Lucas would pick up sometimes, but his voice was distant, like he was reading from a script. "I dunno, Dad, I'm busy." I kept trying. I'd show up at their school events, heart pounding, hoping to catch them in the crowd. At Lucas's spring soccer game, I stood by the bleachers, scanning for his blue jersey. When I finally spotted him, he saw me, waved half-heartedly, then looked away. After the game, Sarah marched over, Greg trailing behind her. "You're making him uncomfortable," she hissed. "He doesn't want you here." I looked at Lucas, hoping he'd say something, but he just stared at the ground. That moment gutted me. My own son, acting like I was a stranger. The lies Sarah was feeding them started sticking. Mia stopped calling me Dad, switching to Mark, and texts. It was like a slap every time I saw it. She'd send one-word replies or tell me she was fine staying with her mom. Once, I overheard her telling a friend at a school play, "My dad's not around much." I wanted to scream that it wasn't true, that I was fighting tooth and nail to be there, but I couldn't, not in front of her, not without making it worse. The emotional toll was brutal. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of my crappy apartment, replaying every moment I'd missed. Mia's piano recital, Lucas's first goal. Their birthdays where I was stuck sending gifts through Sarah because she wouldn't let me come. I started drinking more than I should have, cheap whiskey, just to quiet the ache. Work suffered, too. I'd mess up wiring jobs, forget tools, snap at clients. My boss pulled me aside one day, said I was slipping. I didn't tell him why. "How do you explain that your ex is turning your kids against you?" Sarah's boyfriend, Greg, was everywhere now. He'd pick the kids up from school, take them to amusement parks, post pictures on social media with hashtags like #FamilyDay. I saw one where Lucas was grinning next to him, holding a cotton candy bigger than his head. It should have been me. I checked my bank account. $200 left after child support and rent. No way I could compete with Greg's flashy outings. Sarah knew it, too. She'd text me about extra expenses for the kids, like new clothes or camp fees, knowing I'd scramble to pay. When I asked to see receipts, she'd say, "Don't you trust me to take care of them?" The breaking point came at a parent-teacher conference. Lucas's teacher showed me a drawing he'd done, a family portrait. It was Sarah, Greg, Mia, and him, smiling under a bright sun. I wasn't in it. The teacher, trying to be kind, said, "He's adjusting to the new dynamic." Adjusting? He was my son, and I was being erased. I drove home that night, tears blurring the road, and punched the steering wheel until my knuckles bled. I felt like I was drowning, like Sarah had taken everything that mattered and left me with nothing but guilt and anger. I kept asking myself what I'd done wrong, why my kids believed her lies over my love. The notebook I'd been keeping was filling up, dates, texts, canceled visits, but it wasn't enough. I was losing them, and I didn't know how to stop it. I hit rock bottom on a cold November night, sitting alone in my apartment with a half-empty whiskey bottle and a phone that hadn't buzzed in days. Mia's 12th birthday had just passed, and Sarah hadn't let me see her. I'd bought her a necklace. A silver one with a tiny star pendant, something she'd pointed out at a craft fair years ago. I mailed it to Sarah's house with a card that said, "I love you always, Dad." No response, not from Mia, not from Lucas, not even if she got it from Sarah. I checked my phone obsessively, hoping for anything, a thank you, a picture, even a complaint, nothing. I'd stopped going to the kids' events, not because I didn't want to, but because every time I showed up, Sarah or Greg would make a scene, and the kids would look embarrassed, like I was the problem. Lucas's last soccer game, I'd stood at the edge of the field, and he'd barely glanced at me. Mia wouldn't even make eye contact at her school's winter concert. I felt like a ghost in their lives, watching from the sidelines while Greg played dad. Social media was a knife in the gut, pictures of them. At a ski resort, Greg teaching Lucas to snowboard, Sarah captioning it, "Best family trip yet." I wasn't invited, wasn't even told. Work was a disaster. I got fired from a big job after botching a wiring install. My head wasn't in it. My boss said, "Mark, get your shit together or you're out." I nodded, but I was already out. My savings were gone, eaten up by child support and lawyer consults I couldn't afford to follow through on. I'd called a few attorneys, hoping to fight for my custody rights, but their retainers were more than I made in a month. I felt trapped, like Sarah had built a wall between me and the kids, and I didn't have the tools to break it down. The loneliness was crushing. Friends tried to help, but I pushed them away. Tom invited me to poker nights, but I'd make excuses, too ashamed to admit I was falling apart. My apartment was a mess, dirty dishes, unopened bills. Mia's old drawings curling at the edges on the fridge. I'd sit there at night, staring at them, remembering when she'd hug me and say, "You're the best, Dad." Now, I was nothing. I started wondering if Sarah was right. Maybe I was a lousy father. Maybe the kids were better off with her and Greg. One night, I hit my lowest point. I was drunk, scrolling through Sarah's social media, seeing my kids smile in pictures I wasn't part of. I typed out a text to Mia, "Do you even want me around anymore?" I didn't send it, thank God. But I sat there sobbing, feeling like I'd failed them. I thought about giving up, just letting Sarah win, signing over full custody to stop the pain. It felt like the only way out. I even pulled up an old email from a lawyer with a draft of surrender papers. My finger hovered over reply, but I couldn't do it. Something in me, maybe the memory of Lucas's laugh or Mia's hand in mine, kept me from hitting send. I passed out on the couch, bottle in hand, notebook of canceled visits open on the table. When I woke up, head pounding, I saw a text from Lucas. It was just a picture of him with the model rocket we'd built together years ago. No words, just the image. It was the first thing he'd sent me in weeks. I stared at it, tears stinging my eyes, and realized I couldn't give up, not on them, not ever. But I was at the bottom, with no clue how to climb out. All I had was that notebook and a flicker of hope that my kids still remembered who I was. That text from Lucas, just a picture of our old model rocket, was like a lifeline. I woke up that morning, hungover and hollow, but something clicked. I've been letting Sarah control the narrative, letting her lies and manipulations chip away at my relationship with Mia and Lucas. I'd been reacting, not acting, sitting there, staring at that photo. I realized I wasn't just fighting for visitation days. I was fighting for my kids' trust. Their memories of me, their future with me. I couldn't let Sarah rewrite our story. I started small, shaking off the fog of whiskey and self-pity. I cleaned my apartment, scrubbed the dishes, threw out the empty bottles. I pulled out that notebook I'd been keeping, the one with every canceled visit, every text, every lie Sarah had told. It wasn't just a diary of my pain. It was evidence. I spent hours organizing it, typing updates and details, saving screenshots of Sarah's texts. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but it felt like a weapon, something solid to hold on to. I called Tom, my old friend from the soccer team, and asked him to meet for coffee. I hadn't talked to anyone about this, not really, but I needed perspective. Over burnt diner coffee, I spilled everything: Sarah's cancellations, the lies about me, the way Mia and Lucas were slipping away. Tom listened, then said something that stuck. "Mark, you're not a deadbeat, but you gotta fight smarter, not harder. Get a lawyer, document everything, and don't let her see you sweat." He told me about a friend who'd gone through a custody battle and won by keeping meticulous records. It was a spark of hope. I couldn't afford a fancy lawyer, but I found a legal aid clinic in town that offered free consultations. The attorney, a no-nonsense woman named Karen, looked through my notebook and nodded. "This is good," she said. "You've got a case for parental alienation. But it's tough. Courts don't always see it. You need more witnesses, school records, anything that shows you're involved." She gave me a list. Get statements from teachers, coaches, anyone who'd seen me with the kids. It was daunting, but for the first time, I felt like I had a plan. I started reaching out to people. Lucas's soccer coach wrote a letter saying I'd never missed a game until Sarah started interfering. Mia's teacher emailed about how I'd helped with her science fair project before the visit stopped. I even tracked down a neighbor who'd seen me waiting outside Sarah's house after canceled visits. Every piece felt like a brick in a wall I was building to protect my kids. I also changed how I approached Mia and Lucas. Instead of texting desperately, I started sending small, consistent messages. A funny meme for Mia, a video of a cool circuit for Lucas. I didn't push for replies, just kept showing up in their inboxes. One day, Mia sent back a LOL to a dog video. It was tiny, but it felt like a crack in the wall Sarah had built. Lucas started replying more, 2 short texts, but they were something. I realized they weren't pulling away because they hated me. They were confused, caught in Sarah's lies. The biggest shift was in me. I stopped drinking, started running to clear my head. I took on extra jobs, saving every penny for legal fees. I wasn't just fighting for custody, I was fighting to be the dad they deserved, not the broken man I'd become. I called Karen and said I was ready to file for a custody review. She warned me it'd be a battle, that Sarah would fight dirty. But I looked at that rocket picture on my phone and thought, I'm not losing them. For the first time in months, I felt like I had a chance. Filing for a custody review was like stepping into a ring, knowing I'd get bruised but refusing to back down. I was done being the guy who let Sarah call the shots. With Karen's help, I built a case, piece by piece. My notebook was the backbone. Pages of canceled visits, screenshots of Sarah's dismissive texts, and now statements from teachers, coaches, and neighbors. It wasn't just about proving I was a good dad. It was about showing how Sarah was manipulating Mia and Lucas, turning them against me. The legal process was grueling. I took on side jobs, late-night wiring gigs, even some handyman work to cover Karen's fees, which were discounted but still stung. I'd come home at midnight, hands raw, and spend hours reviewing documents. Karen warned me that parental alienation cases were hard to prove. "You need to show a pattern," she said, "and you need to stay calm, no matter what Sarah throws at you." Staying calm was the hardest part. Every time I saw Greg's smug face at a court hearing or heard Sarah's lawyer twist my words, I wanted to explode, but I kept my eyes on Mia and Lucas, picturing their faces to keep me grounded. I started rebuilding my life outside the courtroom. 2. I got my old job back, convincing my boss I was back on track. I showed up early, stayed late, and nailed every project. The extra cash helped. But more than that, it gave me confidence. I wasn't the failure Sarah made me out to be. I joined a gym, not to get ripped, but to burn off the anger and feel like I was moving forward. I even started volunteering at Lucas's soccer practices, helping set up cones or fix the scoreboard. He'd glance over, surprised, and sometimes give me a small smile. It wasn't much, but it was everything. With the kids, I played the long game. I kept sending those small texts, memes, science facts, little reminders I was there. I mailed them letters, too, handwritten ones about memories we'd shared, like the time we camped in the backyard and Mia swore she saw a bear. It was the neighbor's dog. I didn't expect replies, but I wanted them to know I wasn't giving up. One day, Lucas called me out of the blue, asking about a school project on circuits. We talked for 20 minutes, and I could hear the old spark in his voice. Mia was tougher. She was still distant, but she'd started replying to my texts, even if it was just emojis. In court, things got ugly. Sarah's lawyer painted me as unreliable, saying I'd missed payments, a lie. I had receipts. Sarah claimed the kids didn't want to see me, that I was disrupting their stability. But Karen was ready. She presented my notebook, the witness statements, even Mia's teacher's email about her essay, showing how Sarah's influence had skewed the kids' view of me. The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, listened closely. She ordered a family evaluation, which meant a social worker would talk to Mia and Lucas. I was terrified. They'd been so distant, but it was a step toward truth. The evaluation was a turning point. The social worker, Ms. Carter, met with the kids privately. She later told the court that both Mia and Lucas expressed confusion about my absence, saying Sarah had told them I didn't have time for them. Lucas mentioned the rocket picture, saying he sent it because he missed me. Hearing that in court, I had to grip the table to keep from breaking down. The judge ordered temporary supervised visits while the case continued, and I got to see the kids twice a week at a community center. It wasn't ideal, but it was a start. I was regaining power, not just in court, but in myself. I wasn't the broken man anymore. I was a dad, fighting for his kids, and I was going to win. The courtroom felt like a pressure cooker, but after months of hearings, evaluations, and sleepless nights, the judge finally ruled. I'll never forget that day, sitting there, hands sweaty, as she read her decision. She found evidence of parental alienation. Sarah had systematically undermined my relationship with Mia and Lucas. I was granted shared custody, 50-50, with strict conditions. Sarah couldn't cancel visits or interfere, and we both attend co-parenting counseling. It wasn't a total victory. The counseling part stung, like I'd done something wrong, but it was a chance to rebuild. I walked out of that courthouse feeling like I could breathe for the first time in years. The supervised visits at the community center became my lifeline. The first one was awkward. Mia sat with her arms crossed. Lucas fidgeted with a toy car. But I brought that old board game I'd tried to play years ago, and we started talking. Lucas laughed when I messed up the rules, and Mia rolled her eyes but joined in. Slowly, they opened up. Mia admitted she thought I'd stopped coming to her plays because I was mad at her. I told her the truth. Sarah had blocked me, and watched her face soften, like she was piecing it together. Lucas asked if we could build another rocket. Those visits became my favorite hours of the week. Sarah didn't take the ruling well. She'd text me snarky comments, saying the kids would choose her in the end, but the counseling sessions forced us to sit down with a mediator, and I saw cracks in her armor. She dodged questions about her lies. Get defensive when the counselor pushed. I stayed calm, focusing on Mia and Lucas, not her. Over time, the kids started seeing through her stories. Mia asked me one day, "Why does mom say you didn't pay for my braces?" I showed her the bank statements, not to bash Sarah, but to be honest. She didn't say much, but I could tell she was rethinking things. Rebuilding with the kids took time. I got a better apartment, a 2-bedroom so they'd each have a space. We started new traditions, Friday movie nights, Sunday hikes. Lucas and I built that rocket, and when we launched it in a field, he hugged me so tight I almost cried. Mia was slower to warm up, but she started talking about school, her friends, even her crush on a boy. One night, she slipped and called me Dad again instead of Mark. It was like the sun breaking through clouds. Sarah's influence faded as the kids got older. They'd spend equal time with me, and I made sure every moment counted. I helped Mia with algebra, cheered at Lucas's games, and never missed a chance to show up. Greg was still around, but the kids saw him for what he was, a guy trying too hard to replace me. They'd roll their eyes when he posted his #FamilyMan nonsense online. The takeaway? Love for your kids is worth fighting for, no matter how dark it gets. I almost lost myself in that battle, drinking, despair, thinking I wasn't enough. But every canceled visit, every lie, every tear was fuel to keep going. I learned that you can't control what others do, but you can control how you show up. I showed up for Mia and Lucas, not just in court, but in their lives, every single day. Now, when I see them smile at me, I know it was worth it. No one can take that away.